बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आज का आपका वीडियो लेक्चर है प्रोग्रामिंग फंडामेंटल्स की क्लास का। और आज के वीडियो लेक्चर में हम फोकस करेंगे ऑन द स्विच स्टेटमेंट। सो व्हाट द स्विच स्टेटमेंट इज, हमने लास्ट लेक्चर्स में इफ स्टेटमेंट्स पढ़ी थी, नेस्टेड इफ स्टेटमेंट्स पढ़ी थी। सो व्हाट स्विच इज, इट्स रियली सिमिलर टू इफ। जब हमने मल्टीपल चीज़ों को चेक करना है, कंडीशन वाइज चेक करना है, तो there is another approach which is an alternative to if statements, that is called the switch statement. तो देखते हैं आज के कोर्स की outlines. So the outlines for today is, first of all, we're going to study the switch case. What is the switch case? उसके बाद we're going to look at the flow chart of the switch case, and we're going to look at how to create menus. Menus से आप सब लोग familiar हैं. A menu is something we navigate from. We navigate to one menu to another menu, or one page to another page, or anything in the application. You know where the menu is. To navigate to a specific part of the program, we use menus. So हम creating menus को देखेंगे. We're going to look at the switch case, the flowchart of the switch case, creating menus, the switch syntax. We all know what the syntax is. It's the rules for writing any programming statement. So उसमें हम switch का syntax देखेंगे, the rules by which we write a switch statement or switch case. उसके बाद we're going to look at the default switch. The default switch is the switch statement at its default settings. We're not going to say settings here, but at its default state. To switch or not to switch. What this means is कि क्या हमें switch use करनी चाहिए ऐसे सिनेरियो पे, या फिर switch नहीं use करनी चाहिए. And we're going to look at the uses of the switch case. कहाँ पे हमारी switch case use होती है, और कहाँ यहाँ इसके benefits हैं. हमें इसे use करने के ज़्यादा benefits हो सकते हैं imperative to the if statement. उसके बाद we're going to look at the summary of this whole lecture. So let's move to the first, which is the switch case. In the switch case, the last statement of each case in the switch should almost always have a break. What this means is there's supposed to be a statement which is called break, and the break statement terminates the checking of the switch statement. So जैसे हम आगे जाएंगे, हम इसके syntax देखेंगे, तो आप लोगों को switch के breaks statement का पता चल जाएगा, how a break statement is used, and कहाँ पे वो end कर देती है program को. So the break causes the program control to jump to the closing brace of the switch structure. This means कि जब भी हमारी break statement execute हो जाती है, तो हमारे block of code जो switch structure के अंदर है, वो jump कर जाता है to the end. So that means no more other statements will be checked after the break statement. Without the break, the code flows into the next case. This is almost never what you want. So what this means is, अगर हम break statements नहीं use करेंगे, तो फिर हमारा code flow करता जाएगा next case by next case, even अगर हमारी desired output आ जाती है, but it's not the convenient way to write a switch statement, because the break terminates this case. It terminates the case and it doesn't check any other cases, which is a more convenient way, just like if else. A switch statement will compile without a default case, but always consider using one. A default case means something with a default value. That means if none of your inputs are available in the switch case. For example, अगर मैं check कर रहा हूँ if x is an integer and it's equal to 1, I want the following lines of code to execute. If x is 2, I want the program to print this is 2. If x is 3, this is 3. If x is 4, my program is supposed to print the number you have entered is 4. But what the default case does is, because my program is only catering 1, 2, 3 and 4, what will happen if the user will enter any number that's not among these numbers? So the default case is going to cater that. That is why it's important to have a default case, and we're always supposed to consider one. So moving on to the next place. Flowchart of a switch case. So we've read the flowchart, so let's look at a flowchart demonstrating the switch case. Okay, so guys, I want you guys to look at this flowchart. Here there's a single expression which will be, let's take it as x is equal to 1. We're going to consider a single expression which is x is equal to 1, or how about x is equal to cin, which means x will be the value that the user will enter, this user will input. So x is equal to cin. After that, in the flowchart, first a user is taking a value. After that, we're looking at the case and constants. यहाँ पे ये हो रहा है कि हमारा जो केस चेक हो रहा है वो ये देख रहा है कि जो हमारे पास एक्सप्रेशन आया है वो कोई नंबर्ड वैल्यू है, फॉर एग्जांपल 1 2 3 4, तो इधर केस के साथ whichever constant value I'm going to put, it's going to check. If it's yes, it's going to execute the following code block. If it's no, it's going to go to the next case. So this is how it works. Some expression, then the case checking that expression. If it is as same as that expression, it goes to the code block of that case. If it doesn't, it checks the next one, and if the next one is the single expression, it goes to the code block. If it's not, it goes to the checking constant stage, and the constant will stay there until according to the amount of constants you guys have set. And if you don't have a lot of constants, but you know that the range and the domain of your program is a lot, so it's better that you guys use the default case. Okay, so my example is x is equal to 1, and here instead of the if statement, if x is equal to 1, the following line of code, we're doing the case. So with the case keyword and the expression that we want to check, it's going to check if it's the certain expression. If I'm going to write case and 1, that means if the case is 1, execute this line of code, and if it's 2, execute this line of code, and if it's 3, execute this line of code. So for example, my user entered 2. So first it's going to check in this case if it's 1. It's not 1 because the user entered 2, so it's going to go on the no path. And if case is 2, yes, the user entered 2, it's going to run this block of code. So let's imagine that the block of code here is print yes, the number is 2 or whatever. So this will be printed out on the screen. And again, for the break statement, if there's no break statement, it's going to still check the rest, and if there's a break statement here, it's going to terminate the case. We're going to do this practically, so don't worry if you don't get it right now. After that, we're looking at creating menus. Creating menus, जब हम अपने यूज़र को चॉइस देना चाहते हैं कि these are the following things that my program can do, and by selecting any one of these choices, the program will navigate to the following area. So a menu is a set of choices to display to the user. The user then enters his or her choice. You must validate the choice to make sure it is valid before you continue to the program. So हमारे मेन्यू में हमने जो भी choices हम cater कर रहे हैं हमने उन्हें validate करनी है, and we're going to create a menu with the help of a switch statement. Before that, we're going to look at the switch syntax, so you guys know the rules for writing this switch statement. Okay, the general syntax of a switch statement is the switch keyword and the expression that we're going to check. For example, I'm going to check the value of x, so the expression, instead of the expression, it's going to be x, and after that the case keyword and whatever the values we want to check. So we're going to do this practically, but you guys need to write down the syntax of a switch case. Okay, so the switch keyword, the expression that we're going to check, like in the previous example, the expression was x. So the expression is something that we're going to check. Uske baad the case keyword and the value that we want to see if it's matching, if it's like this value. So if I type 1 here, 2 here, and 3 here, it's going to check if x contains 1, 2, or 3. And until it checks, it's going to keep running. Okay. So, for example, I enter a program in which I declare a variable called x, and I assign the value 3 to x, and I initialize it. And in the switch statement, in the expression part, I put x, and in the cases there's 1, 2, and 3. So considering that the value of x is 3, I assigned 3 to it. So the case will check if it's 1, then it will check if it's 2, and when it comes to 3, the control will jump here because it matches the value 3. So this is how your if statement runs. Let's look at an example for the switch statement. Okay. I have a variable called option. The variable is a character. So I'm going to declare a character, char, space, the name of the character is option. So my program knows that option is an identifier which is of the data type character. Okay, after that I initialize some value to it, any value, A, B, C, D, whatever. Okay, so now I want to check what the value is, and based on that value I'm going to perform an operation. So I'm going to look at the switch syntax. In the expression part, I'm going to write option because I declared a variable called option and I want to check that variable. So in the first case, I'm checking here because this is a character, and we know characters are represented with single quotes. So you don't need to write any quotes with numbers. You need to write single quotes with characters and double quotes with strings. So that's the basic rules. This also comes in the syntax. So in the first case, my switch statement is checking if option is equal to A. If it is equal to A, it's going to run whatever I want to do with it, with the program. And after that, the break statement. The break statement means terminate the case. Because our switch found a match, so break the case. ये इतनी easy है the switch statement. So don't panic if you guys don't get the syntax. जैसे ही हम practically Visual Studio Code पे इसकी example करेंगे. You guys will get the hang of this. Okay, we're going to look at the switch example, and after this example we're going to practically implement this. So right now we're going to look at the example for the switch case. इस example में क्या होगा, we're going to try and look at a switch जो कि check करेगा कि कौन सा दिन है, आज week का कौन सा दिन है, or it's going to take input for a day of the week and give you some specific output based on that. So सबसे पहले हमने switch का syntax कैसे type करना, the switch keyword, then this parentheses, और उसके बाद the block of the switch, the brackets that close the whole switch, उसके बाद our case keywords, yes, our case keyword, and the corresponding value जिसको हम check करना चाहते हैं. So inside the expression, I'm going to, for this, in practical terms, I would need to declare a variable of the integer type, because we're checking in numbers. We have a case for 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to declare an integer called day, and then I'm going to initialize the integer with something, or I'm going to take the value from the user. So अगर हमारा user 0 एंटर करता है तो हमारे प्रोग्राम ने प्रिंट करना है संडे. अगर हमारा यूजर 1 एंटर करता है तो हमारा प्रोग्राम प्रिंट करेगा मंडे. फॉर 2 he'll print Tuesday, for 3 Wednesday, for 4 Thursday, Friday, Saturday, till the default case will print invalid day. So ये switch इन सब possible inputs की को कैसे cater करना है, उस part को handle कर रहा है. Instead of writing excessive if-else nested structures, हम एक simple case statement बनाएंगे जिसके सिर्फ case keyword के बाद the possible input हम enter करेंगे and उसकी output result जो हमें चाहिए. So the question is this structure more efficient than the equivalent nested if-else structure? So this is more efficient. How? If you guys don't know this by now, तो फिर मैं ही आपको बता देता हूँ. Because it's really time efficient. हम if-else के structures को nest करते रहें, and instead of that हमने सिर्फ एक switch statement बनानी है, just one switch statement. उसके अंदर case के keyword के बाद जो भी हमने values को cater करना है उसको लिख के before a break statement हमने the certain task जो हम execute करवाना चाहते हैं उसको लिखना है. So this is more efficient. This is considered more efficient अगर हमारे बहुत ज़्यादा possible values हैं तो it's more efficient. But if you have a normal if-else problem, then I would still recommend that you guys use the traditional if-else statement. Okay, so let's look at the switch default. What's the default? आगे भी I shed some light on the default. A switch statement can have an optional default case. So it's not mandatory that you guys have this, but it's a good practice to have a default switch, because then your program is more tolerant. It's more tolerant towards some errors. Instead of generating an error जो कि कहेगा कि this value is, either it will give me, if it doesn't generate any error, it will give me no output, which is quite confusing for the user. उसकी जगह अगर मैं default case को use करता हूँ, it's going to generate some output like invalid day. So the choice is invalid. And it can take me to try again. It can execute this whole code again and say try again. The choice you entered is invalid, instead of doing nothing. That is why the default case is considered a good practice. The default case has no associated value and simply uses the reserved word default. So default case कोई value को कोई specific value को नहीं match कर रहा, तो अगर कोई भी values जो हमारे पास हैं वो match ना हो, then the default case activates. If the default case is present, control will transfer to it. No other case value matches. Yes, this is what I just said. If there is no default case and no other value matches, control falls through the statement after the switch. Yes. So, अगर हमारे पास default case नहीं होगा, तो our program, if somebody enters a choice that you're not catering, the program will just go sequentially and जो switch के बाद जो भी code होगा वो run हो जाएगा and the user won't know that he made a wrong choice. Switch with default case example. So इस example में हम देख रहे हैं after हमारे यूजर हमने चॉइस दी है कि अगर ए यूजर एंटर करता है बी या सी, हम ये काम करवाएंगे उससे जो भी अकॉर्डिंग टू द चॉइस, मगर उसने कोई भी ऐसी वैल्यू इनपुट नहीं दी जो हमारे पास है, तो डिफॉल्ट केस से हम द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट को एग्जीक्यूट करा देंगे. दिस इज द स्विच विद डिफॉल्ट केस एग्जांपल. Okay, last but not the least, we're going to look at to use switch or not. The expression of a switch statement must result in an integral type. So the rules for switch statement is the data must be of integral type, meaning integral type का data क्या होता है? A byte, an integer, short, long, any of these types are integral types, and they can, or a character, they can be an expression of a switch statement. It cannot be a boolean value or a floating point value. So अगर हमने floating points check करने हैं या boolean check करने हैं, उसके लिए हमने if else statement use करनी है. The implicit boolean condition in a switch statement is equality. So हमारे switch statement में हम expression को check करते हैं कि वो उसके equal है या नहीं. That's the implicit boolean condition. What this means is, अगर हम if statements में देखते थे कि वैल्यू से बड़ी है छोटी है, it's not like this, but मगर switch statement में हम चेक करते हैं equality. You cannot perform rational checks with a switch statement. जैसे हम if statement में चेक करते थे कि ये चीज़ इससे बड़ी है या इससे छोटी है, it's an even number, it's an odd number. Switch statement में the case is only checking the equality, and it's mainly used in menus. Why use a switch case? A nested if-else structure is just as efficient as a switch case. However, switch case may be easier to read. Also, it is easier to add new cases to a switch case than to a nested if-else. Again, what I said, it's easier to read और more convenient है और जल्दी से हम नए cases add कर सकते हैं. The summary for this video is the break statement can be used as the last statement in each case's statement list. तो break statement ज़रूरी है. It's the last statement of the case's statements. Break statement causes control to transfer to the end of the switch statement. If the break statement is not used, the flow of control will continue to the next case. Okay, we already studied this. So thanks all of you guys. कोई भी problem हो, please comment in the video or at Edmodo. Feel free to direct message me. अब इसकी प्रैक्टिकल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होगी नेक्स्ट वीडियो में. सो स्टे ट्यून्ड. अल्लाह हाफिज़.